Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology from 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Looking for something new in dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, alternative history? They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. Get the 10-volume box set with 159 stories and full-color illustrations, plus 34 articles with writings and art tips. Get the UPRN discount, $125 for the entire box set. That's a $60 savings for that beautiful box set. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Go to uprntalkradio.com, click on the link, and
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show, Into the Night with Sean Kelly. How is everybody doing tonight? Sebastian Moran, thanks for your little saying there. Great show tonight with Sean and Michael. Got a great show tonight. It's just going to be a great show, but I need to get this out of the way first before I bring my guest on. I am on UPRN Talk Radio 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi. I think I did that right. Maybe it's reversed. I don't know. But I'm really brutally excited about tonight. Michael was on my show in January 2nd. It was such a great show that, everybody wanted a part 2 with this. But so tonight's part 2, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show tonight. Like I said, my guest tonight, Michael Anthony, is a patriot. Hey, Cindy Simpson, good to see you. He has so much good stuff out there to share with everybody, and he cares, and that's what I love about him, man. He cares a lot. He cares for people, and he has so much information to share with everybody. So without further ado, I am going to give you Mr. Michael Anthony. Hey, Michael.
Give me to America. And
yes.
Hey, listen, let's start by just saying, vote for world peace, and you will find, and you should, vote Trump. That we're in a dilemma here in America that just keeps going more to the negative side. So part 2, I know we were like talking Bigfoot. We were talking ufology and different scenarios, and I've been also doing some writing where I'm talking about within my writings that I've been doing myself is something what I call suggestive matter, unifying matters. It's like a deep dive into what one may think. So let me start off a little bit with some of that narrative here that I have, and you can tell me, you can judge me and tell me what you think anyway. So there is, in my mind, there was one matter above all. It may be the answer to why everything is everything, and everything else can create from it, because it controls the effects of everything that repeats the designs of everything. And I'm not double down on my words here. It's just how it needs to be said, where everything collects to where it should, like super glue, gathering it. And what I'm talking about there, without getting into the whole narrative, is the fact that there is a substance. You can call it creation. You can call it all probability because of the Big Bang Theory. But it's there. It's in place. And whatever, it's an artificial intelligence of somehow. I almost said television, excuse me. Intelligence of something. So when you have a mechanism that's working out up there, down here, and below, that somehow is able to create and manifest on its own by
Mhm.
pulling the universe together and sharing just enough subject matter of whether it's molecules or whatever you want to call colliding up there, but they do gather and creates its own intelligence. And we watch this thing work. When we look through the web and we look through the telescopes and we see new universes and galaxies and the extensiveness of how far it goes. So right now, that's what I've been working on. That's almost like a thesis of writing, but it's because I think we need to like look at this, some of what we see in the world and outside of this world, to try to fit the pieces together. Doesn't everybody want to know everything? I mean,
I
that
do.
becomes that
I do.
to me, it's like a super glue, and it's once it does its job, does its guidance, the intelligence of everything else starts to work on its own. Think about this. Did anybody come to this planet and it was already all here? Well, more likely it was, but how did that occur? How did trees become part of Earth? How did shrubbery become part of Earth? Was it
Mhm.
brought here by a civilization early? And we don't, it's who's above who and how far above who does that chain keep going? Some people say it's the Anunnaki, some that did it all, but I think they came here because they could thrive here, they could live here, they could dig here, get their gold here, whatever the circumstances were as to if that possibility of thesis is true, then they were coming into a homemade planet. But who makes these planets? Who makes these galaxies? Who makes these wormholes? It's like a dark matter, subject matter of something that influences creation. That's where I'm going with that. So I hope you will look forward to it when I talk about that more. Now, as far as going down the deep rabbit trail on two, you said you had some questions you wanted to bring up, and one of them was about what's going on with the food.
Yeah, yeah. Here's the deal with the food. Let me bring it up here real quick because when you post up on your page, it's like
Yeah.
it gets kind of like really interesting. Let me see if I can find it.
I
All
try
right.
to just make people think, Sean, because we need to think out of these boxes. And
Hey Gary, good evening, buddy. Good to see you.
yeah, let me say hello to you guys. Hi, Gary, OG, Sebastian, Cindy. Good to see you and thanks for joining. Please like and share.
Keeping this is what he wrote. My friend Michael. He says, keep an open eye. They are changing the shapes of your produce for better shipping concerns.
Hmm.
Some watermelons are square now. Hey,
Yeah,
Virginia, good to see you.
yeah, and we know that's not a natural element of how a watermelon should grow, but it's just not watermelon. It's other things too. Now, here's the point to that scenario. Why I bring up what I did there was because I think we're going to see a wide change, and I've already witnessed these watermelons coming through a factory. I guess what they are doing is they are basically controlling the growth. By controlling the growth and the shape of the growth, they can be shipped more efficiently, but it's not all within that purpose of what we call efficiency. Many things are now due to the fact that plastics are being banned. Now, how many food sources don't come in plastics? You can go out there, plastics used on the outside of a pasta box. There's a little window in them, and you can see the
Hmm.
pasta inside. Plastic is everywhere. Your milk cartons, it doesn't matter. We widely use plastics, and they're banning them everywhere. So they're now doing something what I call on ground spraying, which is something similar to what's going on in the skies, but they're doing it directly to the element of our produce. So scrub the hell out of this stuff. They are basically silicone plastic spraying with preservatives to be able to ship them, keep them longer in shipping containers. Why? Because we're getting into a trade war on the route coming into the United States because basically we're starting to give everything away to bring it back in through a chain of a supply chain of goods. So one of their narratives was figuring out how they can make it last longer, taking longer routes to get here to the United States of America. And because we're going to go through changes that are going to be unfounded in some people's minds. And I do believe that because all the steps and measures are taking place. And if you're going to ban plastic, that means you're going to start banning all the food coming in the plastics or saying they're no longer available. So that worries me, and that's why I was trying to put that particular post out there. It's a long explanation, yeah, and you got to deep dive into how you can come up with a theory as to why they would do something like that. Of course, they're going to create their own. They did, and I have to make a rebuttal to these things.
Okay, here's a. I remember one show that me and you did, and we talked about seedless fruits.
Mm.
Isn't it? To me, if I'm not mistaken, are they factory made? All I know is that fruit, you need a seed for it to grow. You plant gardens, I plant a garden, and it all starts off with a seed. How in the hell are they making seedless lemons?
Well, I don't, know the formal process to how it's done, but I know they are engineering into the plants and modifying the seeds for them not to be able to do this.
Right.
This is part of what the government does. This is part of what an illustration of all governments are doing. In the United States, this isn't the only place this is happening. Most of our stuff comes in from out of the United States right now because we gave all our growth potential out to other countries. And, we've been pretty much punished under, 20 years of government. So they're making these changes. Now, if you take the seed out of creation, just like you being able to be reproductive with a woman, what do you stop? What do you create? A depopulation.
Right.
You create a control mechanism. And if you control the food chain, you control the world. If you control the weather, you control the world. These theories of control everything is part of how that fits into this agenda. As I was talking earlier about how unified matter, let's call it unified. I don't even know what I'm going to call it yet. I don't. But to me, I'm trying where things unify in a natural way. They are killing that element. And that's the worst thing that we can do because let's face it, Sean, and I'm going to tell you the truth. I garden, you know it. You gardened this year. You know some things. I planted seeds over and over and over again until I got a pack of seeds at work.
Right.
So we're also running into that. So are they making mistakes? Yeah. And I call them the defects, the same as I call the giants of the world. When people talk about the Nephilim, they were the defects. They not all things that we see or understand were as they were. It's like when you look at the Egyptian petroglyphs or hieroglyphs, where you see somebody very large holding up what look to be children, but they're adults. That was, in my mind, not a fact of that they were giants. It was showing a status of power and knowledge over all others. So you have to deep dive as to why. But if you kill creation, that means trees don't thrive no more. They no longer will pollinate. Bees will go extinct. They will attack all the resources in life, including the waters. And that's why I say, ask yourself, where does your tap water come from? Recycled wastewaters from the rivers. Even though most cities back in the day had deep wells with purified good earth water, natural water, that may have needed a little bit of help to reach your tables. But now they changed the narrative. They put a cost on it, a monetary value, and they control that mechanism as well. So everything we are going through in life is something that we find that goes back into histories. In some cases in histories, how to kill somebody's water resource was to throw dead bodies in it.
Yeah.
And they contaminated it. So you got to understand what we really are up against. This is an old school mechanism using a modernization of style.
That's crazy.
And people are sitting accepting it. I can't accept it.
Cindy Simpson says, I only buy watermelon from a local farmer. As the store watermelon does not ripen, then they explode all over the counter. And OG Skywatch says livestock management, like the TV series Silo. I never saw that show before. Have you seen it?
I'm sorry, I never have either. If you can be a little bit more put out a little bit more of an explanation. I'll try to see where you're coming from on that. As far as the watermelons on the tables and stuff, shelf life, it's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, because the environment's changed, the sun has changed, of course.
Oh
I
my
mean, in
God, yeah.
Pittsburgh here, come on. Like I told you, we don't really, when you look at the statistics on days for the last 3 years, Pittsburgh has gone without weather restrictions in the winter and rains between certain hours of the day. It doesn't happen every day, but
Right.
it is happening on what I call the power hours of the day from 8 to 4, where most of the time but again, they also have to show a normalcy somehow, make something look normal, where every once in a while you get an occasional something that happens different. But I'm watching floods still happening all over the country and out of the country. I'm watching devastations like, earthquakes still occurring, high tides coming in on islands, wiping out even our own, get this, military bases.
Yes.
So, but it's not anything that the media is going to come out and turn on and report about. But they'll talk about Nikki Haley, but they won't tell you that that's not even her right name.
Right.
They'll talk and double down on Trump, of course, because, he's the opposition. He's the problem. And they're dumping money all behind this woman now because she is the new prodigy of what will come if they can actually remove Trump. And they're also creating new bills to keep him off other ballots in other cities and states. So she takes a little bit of a win here in New Hampshire in the early part of the vote. But that doesn't mean she's going to win it. That doesn't mean she's going to win it. But I still feel a sense of we need to pray for this man if you believe in him in any way and want normalcy back, because I do fear for him in the sky. I hope our Secret Service has implanted him into the military guard, which maybe he's hiding out in one of the most elaborate underground scenario networks in Mount Shasta or somewhere like that where he can't be gotten to, and they're keeping a safe and an eye on him because they have an agenda. And we are talking about this in the entirety of this agenda right now. I'm going back into history to keep us on the page of part 2, because otherwise I'm already into 3.
Don't worry, there'll be a part 3, brother. Trust me on that. There's going to be a part 3 on that. But yeah, and to me, I watch because mom likes to watch the news at David Muir on 6:30 on Channel 4, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, dude. Why don't you tell the real news that's going out there? Why can't you just mention a little bit of what's happening out there? And they don't. And there's times I just want to say, Mom, they're not telling the truth. One time I did stick up, and I got my ass to that because she just doesn't like Donald Trump. But
yeah, what instilled that into people, really? I mean, because
it's what the media said about him.
Well,
it's
true
about the media. Now, there's another thing with the media. This Taylor Swift and Travis
Swift. Yeah,
Swift. Yes, he's dating that football. Long story short, the media interviewed her. And she said, this is not my cup of tea. I don't like being in the limelight or in front of a camera, quote unquote. What the media put in on that was, this is not my cup of tea, and just left it at that. Do you know what I mean? Yes, it was terrible.
But she'll perform in front of 30 million people in a week, but yet behind the camera, maybe she doesn't feel she looks as good. Maybe she shows a little extra weight. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
OG came back. He said, Silo is amazing. It's made from the book called Wool. People living in giant silos for generations. It's about social engineering to keep people in line and inside the silo. Huh.
To keep people in line inside the silo.
Yeah.
Well, I know of a lot of places that the government, once upon a time, had silo type structures. even when you look into Mothman, they went into that field out there, that old military, governmental, whatever it was, and you find there was things like that out there. What was the purpose for them? Well, it's again, we go back into history and look into government programming. And you find these things. Like if you would look at what Bear Aspirin was doing, they were reaching out to different cultures. And one of them was, I believe, in Turkey. And they wrote to Turkey and said, Bear Aspirin did this, okay? A pharmaceutical company. Could you help us find 150 women that we could use in some of our pharmaceutical testings? And we would be greatly appreciated. We will reward all involved for their activeness within it. Well, the people in Turkey didn't hear back from the pharmaceutical company, Bayer, and they wanted to know a little bit about it. And so, of course, they get a memo back from them through the United States government, etc., blah, blah, blah. As you know how that works. Monkey see, monkey do. It's all under control. But the fact of the matter was, I am sorry to say the 150 people in these trials did not make it. Could you please forward another 150 to us for the next phase of the trial? And I'm not joking. This is only a piece of a crumb of a bread trail where millions of them are laying upon how these narratives and these agendas and where we come from to now have all taken place. And what happens in the big corporation? Ask yourself this. The people that own the biggest corporations in the world also own and are in the platform of the regulation system. They're on board that regulate their own companies. So how often are they going to be regulated? They're not.
No, they're not. No. Before we go on, Michael, you're going to take a breath because I have to do some commercials here for a minute and a half. All right. So
minute and a half, dude. Let's do it. I'm done with you.
Hold on.
All
Everybody seeing not an hour and a half, a minute and a half.
Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology from 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Looking for something new in dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, alternative history? They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. Get the 10-volume box set with 159 stories and full-color illustrations plus 34 articles with writings and art tips. Get the UPRN discount, $125 for the entire box set. That's a $60 savings for that beautiful box set. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Go to uprntalkradio.com, click on the link, and place your order.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Sean Kelly, and to the night host, my guest, Michael Anthony. I want to thank Carnation for sponsoring the show tonight. And I need to tell you that I'm on UPRN Talk Radio 105.3. It's Mississippi, and 107.7 New Orleans. And Michael, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been like a freaking great show. I've learned a lot. Like I keep telling people, I learn a lot from you. And, you know, the word out there is that, and I hear from other people too, that they do learn from you, you know, that you make sense. You know what I mean? And I do believe that whenever I feel it and I see it, that whatever you talk about, it's making a change in America. And sir, I appreciate that. I really do.
Thank you. You're too kind. And, you know, I just want people to be observant. And I don't mind throwing things out to people because I look at it more about being the gatekeeper of the information, teach it to people, offer it to people, help people, unify people, and I hope what we do works, whether we're talking about deep paranormal, Bigfoot, UFOs, and oh my God, there's such deep information that lies within all this, as well as when we look into the deep state and some of the other narratives of the swamp and what we're living in now in these times, which some people are calling the end times. I don't really call them the end times. That's, we're going to see things that are going to look like the end is near for sure. I mean, but, we got to remain strong and vigilant. Part of even me, where my heart almost dropped, we see Texas finally stand up, and I don't want to go too far off. You can tell me where not to go, but Texas stands up. Abbott finally takes a stand, and we get the National Guard. We start to get a part of the border cleaned up, and wouldn't you know, immediately they filed papers from the White House right to the Supreme Court, and of course they got to jump out of their seats for them guys so fast and give attention to whatever they need. Of course. That's the way it works. But that's the injustice part of the negative and positive system. But it came back on a 5-4 vote to tear down that wire.
Yeah, I saw that. And I'm thinking, my God, what is our government actually that desperate for people coming and crossing the border? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I had a daydream today at work. I do a lot of that. I think at work, and I'm thinking the only way Texas can hold their own is by leaving the Union, a secession. Is that what it's called, Mike?
Secession of states, something like that. Yeah, concession.
I mean, toward their own people. They're their own state, whatever.
Right. But you know what? I don't even know what the whole plot was about, because the truth of the matter is they were taking care of only a very small 30-mile sector of doing this. Look how much else was left open in all of the West Coast.
Right.
And if you go to the West Coast, I mean, wherever Pelosi's nephew is, Newsom, he's going to allow them to do whatever they want. Come across the border, hang out here. Look, we got a special branch, what we're now starting to see through Wall Street, going all through the cities of America where the sanctuary sites have been picked, buying up all the housing. And now we have, and then I'm connecting some other dots. Why are they doing this? Well, it started to come out today and a couple of days ago, where a couple cities, one of them being Sanctuary, a safe city for illegals, is now saying to the landlords, you have to rent to who we tell you to rent to.
Ain't that crazy?
And illegals will come first because they are the largest. They are the largest structure of people without homes and that are homeless. But we have 30,000 American military people, not just regular normal homeless people, but within the military who remain homeless, who can't even go into one of these illegal sanctuaries and say, can I get a brown bag with a sandwich? Right. No, you're not permitted to go in unless you are of a certain whatever. We also are finding out that a couple guys have been really good to me. They decided to go and check out where it was starting from in Venezuela and track it all the way up. So they joined this union of this walk, these bus rides, these trails, these train rides, these boat rides, these airplane rides, until they got back to the United States, and they're starting to expose the system. In the system through the United Nations, there are sectors and there are what they call post stops everywhere, handing out condoms, road maps, food, water, charging stations for telephones, clean clothes. They will not do anything for us as citizens here. So what does this tell us? It tells us that they are creating and brainstorming for these certain people, maybe of military ages in some cases, but I wouldn't think all, but the possibilities exist there. We see no more driver's license for these people come in case they buy a car, and they're getting the money to do whatever they want. That's neither here or there. They're getting it, but they're going to have to rent to them. You're going to have to deal with them, and they're coming for our jobs. And if it's not AI taking over all the jobs, which is going to happen, I'll give you an example of how that'll work. If you look at the law firms now that may employ like 300 people, that's somebody that's a bigger magnet to taking on cases, are now putting in AI to get rid of all the paralegals and all the other attorneys, because they will only need a small half of a staff, because AI is gonna take it over. You put the matter in, subject matter in, details to it, and AI is going to do all the homework, look up all the laws, tell you what you can go against, how you can attack back, and what your best narrative of fight is. That's the same type of information that Elon Musk was trying to share to the world on how to invest in stocks by using his system. So they're getting the work done in 15 minutes versus manpower by 20 hours.
Hey, Jeff Talon, he said he's the paranormal goat from Ohio, and my brother's on. Michael, my brother Patrick Kelly.
Hi, Patrick.
but yeah, it's just.
I know your roots.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, then they go deep. But no, I'm going to throw this out. All this crap that's happening with the government in Texas and homeless vets and stuff. Can you somehow put that in perspective or in the same box as paranormal? I was thinking about that all day.
How they're dealing with it?
Yeah, how well everybody
if you could create a cognitive dissonance that confuses people to the point of they don't no longer look at things through common sense, but through narrative, and ones of power who seem to have the air quote answers, then I think there is subject matter that's paranormal there, because we always knew in testings that I've discovered on other people's works, that if you manipulate enough, where Obama said it himself, if you put enough corruption or something into the square, he says eventually it's game over. They're going to believe you, and game's won. So is it a paranormal? Is it some type of psychological warfare? Does that equal the same equation to paranormal? Yeah, because, I think it goes through the mind. You manifest what you think you need to, right, even if it's wrong. Okay. And then your thought patterns change, and that's what they utilize it through. That's what television was brought in, and television was created for a different purpose by a very young gentleman that miraculously discovered how to do it. But once it was discovered and the government figured it out, it became part of the narrative of the system that would work to get us to this point. So yeah, in ways, these people are spiritual, satanic. And, it puts us where exactly, I think, maybe in a way where you wanted to go with it. If I didn't answer it right, I'm sorry, but I would I would say there's similarities to where you could say there's something very paranormal going on.
Okay, good. Because, like I said, I do a lot of daydreaming at work, and I do. And you can only cut so much meat in a day. You know what I mean? And
unless it's going to snow the next day.
Oh, God, you just don't know. That Thursday was freaking hectic. I did over 700 pounds of ground meat by myself. But so it's like, but yeah, because I like what you had to say about how, if you think of something like, I want money, and I'm just saying, this is a scenario. I want $100, and you keep thinking and you keep thinking, and then you manifest that $100. Yeah. Of course, it's going to be paranormal. I believe that there are outside sources. You have angels, you got demons out there. And Deborah Ann Myers, hey, Deborah, good to see you. She says that they are both hypotheses. Okay.
Which part?
Which part, Deb?
She calls me and talks to me on the phone at night, so she's gonna kick my ass right now. Excuse the French, No, I mean, look, I get where she's coming from. That, yeah, we are, kind of like putting a vibe, a thought out there. What is our opinion? To say it more clearly, it doesn't mean that we're going to be right all the time. But, if there is enough evidence that also says to remote viewing and other aspects of certain things that you can self manifest things. Like, I want to park right out front of this place tonight. I want to go there and I want that parking spot to be open. And you're talking to this Ethernet of Earth, this control system that we are totally unaware of, that I think that they have been able to tap through. They are not doing CERN and all these other things because they don't know there's something there. They are spending this money because they know there are things there. Right. And I think our minds really can control a narrative of issue in many ways. But if you keep doing that, and sometimes I do it, and when I pull up, and I'm not saying that it happens all the time, but I will say this: when I started really trying to say to myself before I got somewhere, I got a front row parking seat. I'm not saying maybe it was all coincidence. I don't know. Maybe the stars just
they lined up.
Yeah.
Well, like with people thinking negative thoughts and doing negative things to other people, they're releasing an energy from their body. Okay, a bunch of negative energies. And a lot of the negative spirits that are out there, if you want to call them a demon, you call them demons, you call them whatever you want. But it just gives the demons or whoever's out there that's not a good person more, you feed them more with all that negativity energy that's going out there. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah. As we know, a lot of people use churches and certain scenarios of on how they built certain places for monks to go, and they're all in this chant. But we do know when larger amounts of people are in places, there is an effect. So people can look into that and research why the Templars probably were some of the most sophisticated people when it came to building. And I'm not saying they were the greatest people in the world. There's good and bad on both sides of the stories of who people are. But when you look at these magnificent structures, and the fact that they echoed in with beautiful, I'm trying to look for the word, ceremonically, I think the word is, harmonies and sounds and vibrations. They did this because they knew that there was something above just the normality of humanity that we share this system with, that controls this system, which goes back to that part of the unified matter, which turns into the super glue that then controls the system of the unified matter to start becoming into a placement of matter, which becomes trees and plants and water and air. And, and I'm just saying, there's something that does this, even though there's an art designer within it that doesn't exist, but does exist, where it creates all these different aspects of all these different places with 7 moons here and 10 moons there and 2 suns here and a dwarf planet there. But it all fits and it all narrates. And as one dies, it creates a new life somewhere else. We don't see it, but the structure of whatever that sophistication is part of what we are living with it that's down here that creates that frequency. You can call it electromagnetic, you can call it microwave, it doesn't matter to me what you call it, but call it something because it's fascinating and it is happening just like that.
Right. Cindy Simpson.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Cindy says, I agree 100% with that theory that you just put out there.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to you a little different than Neil deGrasse would because he's educated and I'm stupid, to be perfectly honest with you.
Don't ever say that, dude.
The point of the matter, these people are educated through education. A product of government educational services, all brought to you by none other than the Rockefeller and Rothschilds, who first initiated the money into the educational system. Imagine that. Only to teach us what we need to be taught. Not that you're sick from cancer, but to keep you on the pharmaceuticals longer. They were taught to be able to do that, not to be able to cure. That's why it's always called practicing medicine. Well, we can practice on you. We might cure you. We don't know. I practice. My son-in-law, he practices law down the street. go check him out. He's not always going to win. He's practicing. And the truth is, it goes back to favors. Favors cure more and get more awardings than anything else.
Yes.
You know, it's who you know. That's the system of it.
Deborah Ann Myers says hot HZ frequency vibrations. She agrees with that.
Yeah, well, that's part of the higher consciousness and everything else too, you know, and I do believe in it to some degree that it works. And I would only say this, positive motivations in your life, listening to music and staying within the frequency of good sounds and all those types of things are also going to put you in a more positive place. When has music that you really enjoyed never got you back into a good mood? I'll say it like that because it works for me. I know that. I can't wait actually to start work, put on music, and then before I know it, man, it's like it's triggering something. My abilities become stronger. And at the end of the day,
you work faster. You work faster. You work
in ways. In ways. And at the end of the day, I don't mind being there longer because the music, I think, influenced it.
But see, here's the crazy thing, and I'm just like you because at work people turn on their radios. And we're old there. We're a bunch of old meat cutters up there. And we listen to the 80s and the 70s music, you know what I mean? But, and we work good. We work good when it comes to the music. But, Michael, you have to see there's no matter how hard you try to be happy by listening to your songs, there's so much negative out there in the world now, right? That it just seems to overpower your happiness. It's like, and I'm going to be honest with everybody here, with you, Michael, with all my people that listen to this show worldwide. I don't want to leave my house. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to leave because it just seems like when I do go out to do something at the dinner or get a coffee or something like that, you know, and especially being empathic like I am and a lot of other people, you just pick up all this negativity. And it's like go into Eaton Park and drink your coffee down real quick. You know, you planned on staying there for 45 minutes, but you know what? No, you got to go. You got to go because you can't handle all the negativity that is out there. So what do? You do the best you can. And we're all in survival mode, I do believe. I think we're all in survival mode. You know, it wasn't like the way it is when we were growing up, Mike. It wasn't, not at all. It's a whole new ball game.
Well, again, it's been a voluntary compliance, and that's why we're seeing kids act the way they are. That's why we've seen devastation throughout the United States of America occur shortly after the pandemic. And what did the pandemic really have to do with a bunch of kids going out and pulling down statues and burning down state buildings and post offices and all these other things that they did, being destructive? It's because there was a system within the system that was feeding and nourishing and providing money and assistance and allowing things to happen. And then here you are now faced with the fact of what that artificial psychology did, because it was all artificial, you know, as much as it was real. The artificial part is it created that part of the artificial system created a social anxiety, which you now question, but you're much more observant because, as you said, you're sensitive, you're intuitive, you're, you know, but the thing is this, there's a place out there for all of us somewhere. We can get whatever we need done. It's up to us to find the pattern and path with the people that will help. And that's why I said, if you want world peace, vote Trump 2024. And while I'm at that and I'm on this topic right now, I'm just going to say this. And remember, I said it. I don't think I'm going to be wrong. I really don't think I'm going to be wrong. Trump's pick for vice president is not going to be a woman. And I'm just going to say that is not going to be a woman. I know a lot of people were theorizing that. Nah. And you'll say thank you to me. But I can't talk any more about that at this point in time. But look, it's going to be a rough road. It's going to be a damaging road. We have things in this country that can turn it upside down. And armament and DC is providing the system for it to happen. These supercells are being developed. There are bad people here. And things are going to happen. And if anything happens to that man, they're going to blame it on terrorism. in some way. And I
Right.
do fear for him. I do fear for him, especially when he flies, because these are areas where you're vulnerable. I'm just going to say that. So keep prayers for him and keep thinking positive and with a focus point of we can get through it, and there will be light at the end of the tunnel. Remember, without darkness, light has no meaning.
Right.
So
Exactly.
we gotta fight through this system of this garbage, and it is garbage. And then we can start cleaning up the mess to some degree, but it's going to take years, and it's going to take well beyond a stay of 4 years in that position.
Right. And I totally agree with you. But I like what Deborah Ann Myers had to say here. She says, bring some sunshine with you. Change.
Yeah.
Here in Pittsburgh, there is no damn sunshine.
No.
There's no clouds. I mean, I've been to places where it's really cold out and there's a nice bright sun, you know what I mean, shining down upon you. But just here in Pittsburgh, man, we just do not get that sun. It's just like gloomy and doomy, and it's just like, wow.
Again,
So-
it's another artificial effect. In 1964, John F. Kennedy said, we will challenge and we will get to the point where weather modification can be done. And after his demise, if in fact that truly ever happened and it wasn't a sit-in in a car, there's many speculations all over the place on that story. But the point would be his successor then went on and gave one of the most defining speeches of where we were headed and why weather will control the world.
Right, and it's controlling it now. You know, when I first heard about it, I did not believe it. I did not believe it. But like you, and he told me, he said, Sean, study the weather patterns. You know, just study. You know, when you talked about earlier about the 8 to 4 bit, I think we talked about this in the summertime back in 2023 because it was really, really hot and our plants weren't growing and we weren't getting no water. We were getting water at night, rain, you know what I mean? So it just, it's so full of crap, man. Maybe I want a UFO to come down and, you know, like beam me up.
Keep pushing for those. And, you know, the possibility, there is a possibility that could happen. But then you have to question the fact that truly, what technologies are we holding? And in a way, that's interesting you brought that up because I was listening to one of your constituents, a friend. We did a show with him. He was talking about how he talks to aliens. He communicates with them. He has long conversations with them and so forth and whatnot. And he was talking about the fact that the Phoenix Lights were a product of the aliens coming to show us that they are here. And I'm not saying that these types of things and that type of narrative or theory isn't true. But I happen to know firsthand that we get everything out to the public 40, 50 years later. What I believe from everything I found, as good as it all looked, it was actually an early drone system that we're just learning of this technology now.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Because think
Wow.
about what Starlings can do. And imagine if they were to get in that same position, everybody would think that they were seeing the same thing.
Okay.
So when you're capable of controlling drones way before, when this was sophisticated enough for them to be trying it on us, it was a test. What hasn't been a test in our life the last 3-4 years? What hasn't been a test all our life? We're born from and robbed from cradle to grave in a system of slavery where you work and 60% of your paychecks left, but then it gets broken down to sales tax, food, insurance, cars, this, that, payment here, payment there, payment, rent, mortgage. What do you have left? Nothing. That was
Nothing.
the design. And they're coming for more from us. There's
Yes, they
new
are.
bills coming out right now that are going to take us into that place, as well as other new bills that were being drafted prior to Trump leaving that are in place that they're going to also use to try in other states to keep him off the ballot. Now, Biden's biggest mistake was that moron forgot to fill out his whole tribe forgot to fill out the papers for New Hampshire.
Wow.
He
Wow.
missed the deadline,
Oh my God.
and he's bitching. So I mean, this is what we're seeing. It's a real show, and it's a shame.
Yes, it is a shame. But we got about 10 minutes. See, there's another new show that's coming on at exactly 9:10.
They should just intermix us. We could give
Yeah,
them a helpful hand.
that would be cool. But okay, it is at the top of the hour. It's 9 o'clock. Michael, how can people get a hold of you?
How did they get a hold of me? Well, I guess the easiest way would go on my name on Facebook, and then you could just research me out from there. I'm in an immense amount of groups. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Rumble, etc., etc. But if you go under Michael Anthony, just the way you see it spelled, look for a really heavy duty symbol of the United States of America, because they try to hide me from the public seeing me. And just click on it and send me a message. Let me know that you're actually somebody that wants to talk to me, and I'll make time to talk to you.
Right. And everybody, please, if you can, if you want to, go look him up, because he has so much good information, man. I just learned. And I mean, I told him before the show, it's like he did a couple shows. I was listening to them, and dude, I was ready to go out and conquer the world after listening to your shows, not your shoes, your shows. But Michael, thank you for being on tonight. Anybody out there, real quick, I want to ask Michael a question. We got about 9 minutes. Is there anybody out there? Okay. Deborah says, yes, government brainwashed we, the people, to work for a debt note, and we really never own due to taxes.
Exactly. That's, if you look at your home, why are you paying property taxes if you own the property? Right. You're not buying the property. It's just a fabrication of a reality, and they made you believe you did. But every year you cut that check to them, just is basically backing everything up I'm saying here, is you're agreeing under a contract to pay them for the use of the land, basically. And now they're taking it as well. They're removing everyone's mineral rights. They're tapping into water well systems. They're removing water wells. They want to put meters on them where they can't reach them. They're just taking everything from us, shutting down pipelines, and it doesn't matter. We're going to be in a very heavy conflict of what's still to come through 2024. You just got to stay strong out there and fight them off the best you can, but don't feel defeated, because we're not defeated yet. The red is not dead. We are a movement, and we have to get there, because it'll protect the children. These children are going to be the future that are going to be controlling this country for your other children. Remember that we can knock these people out of these places and positions if we all stick together and just try to fight back that way. And while doing it, it's going to open up a can of worms, like disclosure coming out more on ufology and other things, because there are enough of us out there that have interest in these things, and they are going to be fighting for it all to be exposed.
Yes, they are. And I'm so excited, but we got to go, Michael.
Okay.
All right. Children, please go to your parents, give them a hug and tell them that you love them. Parents, please go to your children, give them a hug and tell them you love them. And if you don't have no parents, and if you don't have no children, find somebody to give them a hug and tell them that you love them, because those 3 words, I love you, go a long way. Michael, again, thank you for being on. I will see everybody this Sunday coming up. Don't know what the topic's going to be. Probably will know 1 hour before the show starts. But
the guy did.
But everybody, good night, and stay tuned. There's more shows out there. Thank you, Sebastian. Take care.